Welcome to Insight and Influence, a podcast presented by C&G Strategies, bringing you insightful conversations from influential people, including government officials, industry leaders, and advocates from across the state.
Well, welcome to Insight and Influence. I'm Rob Veschier from C&G Strategies. Today we have the new Divisional Commander, Marcus Jugenheimer from the Salvation Army. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us on, Rob. It's great to be able to have the opportunity to share what the Salvation Army is doing in the Pittsburgh area and the greater Western Pennsylvania area.
So how's that region? Like, what's your region here in southwestern Pennsylvania? How many counties do you guys cover?
So the Salvation Army Western Pennsylvania Division serves the western 28 counties, 28 of the Commonwealth, and headquartered in Carnegie and with a very large presence in Allegheny County.
Can you enlighten our listeners as to the services you guys provide in this territory?
Certainly. The Salvation Army provides services that provide help for today and hope for tomorrow, I like to say. We are often known for those most basic human needs services, and with relative to food insecurity, rent assistance, utility assistance, clothing, so that we can help meet those most basic needs that people have right now. But at the same time, we provide hope. We provide hope through our spiritual ministries, through our congregational ministries and services and programs, as well as through educational programming and life skills programs.
Fantastic. So what are the challenges of today? I mean, obviously we're just coming post-COVID. I'm sure you guys played a significant role during that era. What are the challenges right now here in southwestern Pennsylvania?
Well, certainly, there's this idea that COVID came and went,
right?
But there are the lingering impacts of COVID upon those who were already more vulnerable before the pandemic. And so we went through a phase that we would call pandemic poverty.
Okay.
And many of the areas of services that we saw a significant increase in during COVID remained at a high level. They didn't necessarily decrease as the narrative might suggest. And so while the need continues to be there, the demand on our services continues to be there, when it comes to general philanthropic giving, we see that there is a great increase during COVID, and then it leveled off.
Like they think like everything's fine now.
Yeah.
So the challenge is that, people, community think COVID's done. There's so essentially they're not giving as much at this point. So we're looking at how do we make sure that people know that these challenges still exist. And I think that's part of the challenge of Salvation Army, just to say, we're here, we have a lot of people in need. And so I guess the question is, how do we keep that going? I know you guys do a great job with your campaigns. And I know we're coming into the holiday season now and you guys are going to be incredibly busy.
Absolutely. As we consider the campaigns, we see them as advocacy. Okay. It's not necessarily tooting our own horn. It's not necessarily promoting the Salvation Army. It's reminding those who have the resources to support that there's still a need out there.
Right.
And whether that need is for food, and we still have so many impacted by food insecurity in our communities, and our Feed It Forward campaign is that reminder that there are individuals that truly are praying for their daily bread. And it's not just a rote prayer, but it's an actual need. And the Salvation Army is here to provide help through our soup kitchens, through our food pantries, to help provide nutritious meals to help the families make that tough decision that they often are faced with. Do I put food on the table or do I pay the rent this month?
Yeah, I mean, you're just not in the city of Pittsburgh and Allegheny County. I mean, these counties on the outskirts, sometimes it's stretch your money thin, right, to try to support some of those initiatives out there.
Absolutely. There's incredible need in the area, and the Salvation Army is strategically positioned in communities where that need exists, and we serve every zip code in Western Pennsylvania, and we do so certainly to the glory of God, but we do that to benefit those in our communities that just need lifted up at a time. Sometimes it is short term. Sometimes they need the assistance, for a longer term, but it is our mission to come alongside them and to really serve suffering humanity.
A couple summers ago, we did a tour with legislators of Camp Allegheny. Fantastic location. services you guys provide up there. Can you explain Camp Allegheny to our listeners?
Yeah, Camp Allegheny is a beautiful camp that we have outside of Elwood City, and just a great location where we service youth during the summertime. We have a summer youth camp, and then we also serve seniors. We have a veterans camp. We just had this past weekend a retreat for single parents that was just an incredible time. My wife and I had the opportunity to join in that, and just to see families that are enjoying this time together. And then we've already heard some great accounts of them getting connected to the local Salvation Army for ongoing services and ministries.
Is that an annual camp that you do, or is that something that was new?
That one is on year 3. So it's a new thing. We're always trying to look at what are some other needs out there, some populations that could use some time of respite.
Right.
And that one is a great connection with our Pathway of Hope program, which is an intensive case management program designed to help families break the cycle of poverty.
I think when we were there was a camp for inner city kids that were up there at that time, and they were having fun. They were in the swimming pools, and they were definitely having, like, it was a way of getting out of the cities into that area of camp that they may not have ever had.
It is,
so
yeah.
It sounds like they had a blast when we were up there. So
it is a great experience. My wife and I moved most directly from New York City area,
okay.
And whether it's Pittsburgh, whether it's New York City, whether it's Boston, just to see kids come out of the element of their neighborhood, where they do not have all the amenities and then the nature they find at camp. And to be able to have that experience, my wife and I were residential camp directors at one point, and such a rewarding opportunity to see lives inspired. They are able to get a little more independence while they're at camp, which is always a good thing, to enjoy the great outdoors and have some great programming that is designed for their age level.
And you guys work with partners, I guess corporate partners or community partners. How are those relationships? Are they something that you guys obviously want to always strengthen and get new community partners? Is there anything we could do for our listeners who, like, how do they contact you guys if they want to get involved?
Absolutely. The salvation to our mission, and the mission that's shared by many other organizations, I believe we're getting an increasing understanding that no organization can address the challenges of today alone.
Right.
And so it is all about partnerships. And so we partner with other service providing organizations, other ministries, faith-based ministries, as well as a lot of corporations and small businesses that come alongside us to be able to help us do all that we do to impact the lives of others. So for individuals interested in partnering with the Salvation Army, they can go to salvationarmywpa.org and choose the volunteer tab there, and that'll provide opportunities that they can get connected with their local Salvation Army.
And then county governments. How do you guys partner with some of the county governments? Because I know they provide services, but you actually help them, alleviate the counties on some of their problems, in terms of financial issues and stuff. So you guys work well with all the counties, Allegheny and all the surrounding ones, right?
Yes, we work in partnership with the government entities, whether it's county or municipal or the Commonwealth. And, sometimes that is in the area of funding. Sometimes that's in the area of collaboration with specific needs that the Salvation Army often is subject matter experts in areas of addressing certain needs that we can benefit, whether it's the county, whether that's the city, whether that's the state.
It's September, so it is Emergency Preparedness Month. Salvation Army plays a critical role when it comes to emergency preparedness. Can you explain to the listeners what services you guys, again, provide and how you guys work with city, state, in terms of coordinating that effort on emergency preparedness when there's a disaster?
Absolutely. The Salvation Army has a rich heritage and history in emergency disaster services going over 100 years here in the Western Pennsylvania area. And we really look at three areas: preparedness, response, and recovery. And one of the truths is that disasters do not discriminate. They can happen to anybody, anywhere, at any time. And so we really try to emphasize that individuals take all of the necessary steps to be prepared in the case of a disaster, with go bags and different elements to be able to be ready, because we never know when it will strike. But when it does, that's where the Salvation Army, being right there with feet on the ground already, boots on the ground, we're there ready to respond. The response phase is critical, as we're there to providing support not only to those families impacted, but also to those first responders that are there, the fire department, the police department, the emergency services department that are there at the disaster, whether it's a single house fire that has a catastrophic impact on one family, a natural disaster that's impacting an entire region, or as we have seen, unfortunately, the man-made, incidents that have such an impact on our communities. Regardless of the nature of the disaster, the Salvation Army is there to provide that direct support through food, through water, but also providing emotional and spiritual care to those who have been impacted. And sometimes that's not only the family members that maybe lost their house in a fire, or those who lost everything to a flood. It is also those first responders that are there seeing sometimes just terrible things that they witness. Right. And so we're there to help provide that support as well.
It's amazing, because I think that's, people don't notice that, or sometimes, because you're always there, or you're there to support. And it's like almost, if you didn't have the resources to help support, the community on these fires or floods or snowstorms or power outages, whatever you guys go to help, it's almost like, well, who would do it? Because the counties get so stressed thin. And so they definitely need this organization, whether or not the community actually understands it or not. You don't know until it's gone, is what I guess the best way of saying it. So sustaining it is the most important. So you have a personal testimony, your background, in EDS during September 11th. Can you tell us what you witnessed when you were there, and how, during that time frame?
Certainly. I've been deployed on different disasters to other parts of the country, whether it's flooding in North Dakota, hurricane season in Alabama. When the two planes struck the towers, the World Trade Center, that was in our own backyard. My wife and I were in New York City at the time, and on the forgotten borough of Staten Island, and having the proximity, being there right on the north shore of Staten Island, being able to see what was unfolding that so many in the world were seeing on television, to be able to see it right across the harbor, I felt the same conviction that so many other Americans felt. Right. I need to do something. But I was in the proximity to actually be able to do something immediate. And so myself and two other Salvation Army officers from Staten Island journeyed into Lower Manhattan with a van full of donated water from a big box store, and we're the first Salvation Army personnel arriving there at Ground Zero, and we remained there till about 2 a.m. on September 11th, and then we're back the next day, and we're there for the first 2 weeks.
Were the buildings already down whenever you showed up?
Buildings, towers 1 and 2 were down. Tower 7, which is often forgotten that there was another building that collapsed. Tower 7 collapsed. I was there when that occurred, and again, the amount of chaos that was there during those first hours was really something that will always be in my mind and in my memory. But to be able to just simply offer some sort of comfort, and that we went into a lot of restaurants in Lower Manhattan. We got food donations, and between those meals, the water that we brought, we were able to start serving the first responders. I was down in the pit where you could feel the heat of the flames, handing out water to firefighters. And again, it was the small part that I could do in a disaster that was just unfathomable.
Right.
And saw on that day, of course, the worst of humanity, but also the best of humanity. The individuals that immediately, when they saw the Salvation Army uniform, wanted to come and do something. Volunteers ranging from, we had an attorney and we had an individual that was one of our homeless neighbors working side by side to try to help the lives of those who've been impacted, to serve those who were putting their lives at risk in their response as firefighters and police officers.
It's incredible. I mean, it also lays out, the Salvation Army, whether it's a bigger tragedy like September 11th or the neighborhood house fire or flood. You guys are always there.
Always there, and we're there before, we're there during, and we're there after. And the other element of our work is the long-term recovery.
Right.
And the Salvation Army is part of the state VOAD, Voluntary Organizations Assisting in Disasters, that is key to that long-term recovery aspect, that when the cameras are away,
you're still working.
We're still there serving, sometimes for months and sometimes for years after the fact, providing assistance to the families that were impacted in ways that cannot be resolved, within an immediate response time.
Well, it's inspiring. It's also, again, it's September, and as emergency preparedness, we're also asking, donors and people to look and blog on your website and make sure that they help out, because Salvation Armies, we're coming into the winter season and you guys are going to be overwhelmed again, I'm sure, as always, helping people when they need it. So
these services are so critical. We have started a new campaign, Equip the Front Lines, and we encourage individuals to go to Salvation Army WPA /shield, and they can there find the ways that they can support that campaign, or they can text SHIELD to 31333 as a way to make a donation to help us equip the front lines, so that when disaster does strike, the Salvation Army has all of the resources that we need to assist with that recovery and long-term response.
And we appreciate your time. This is enlightening for our listeners, but maybe welcome, by the way, to Pittsburgh and southwestern Pennsylvania. Hope you have a long tenure here. And if you ever need anything, obviously we're here for you. So whatever we can do to help support you.
We appreciate your support and appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation today.
Thank you very much.
So we did something a little unusual for this podcast. We have switched hosts and guests midway through, and we're actually doing a part 3 for this podcast, but it's for a special reason. September is National Emergency Preparedness Month, and it is also Hunger Action Month. So I'm Amy Downs from C&G Strategies, and we're thrilled to welcome Adam Kitta.
Yes, thank you for having me.
To the podcast. Adam, tell me a little bit about what you do with the Salvation Army, how long you've been there, and just a little background.
Sure. So I'm the Assistant Director for our Western Pennsylvania Emergency Disaster Services for the Salvation Army. I've been involved with the organization for approximately 7 years. I started out as a volunteer whenever I was in college and kind of moved up the ranks into the Assistant Director position over the last course of like I mentioned, 7 years.
That's great. Tell me, we talked a little bit earlier with the division commander, so he touched on Emergency Disaster Services, EDS, but can you tell us a little bit about what that is and what you do?
Yeah, so in Emergency Disaster Services, what we do is respond to both large and small scale disasters throughout our Western Pennsylvania division, which is 28 counties in Western PA. Not only do we help support the events in Western Pennsylvania, but we also supply equipment, resources, and volunteers and staff to other areas across the country for large-scale disasters.
That's a lot. Where are you based?
So we're based in Green Tree, just outside of Pittsburgh, but again, we do serve 28 counties in Western Pennsylvania.
And how do you do that? How many volunteers? How many staff members? What's it look like money-wise? How do you do all that?
It's definitely a challenge. So we have a small staff department. We have a staff of 4 staff members, and then we have about 40 volunteers that are specifically dedicated to EDS throughout the division. On top of that, we have 12 canteens, which are like our mobile feeding units, and those are the units that we take onto those disaster scenes to support whether it's first responders, the individuals affected by the disaster, caregivers, whoever may be involved.
That was actually going to be one of my next questions. I think that oftentimes when we see coverage of a fire or some other disaster that people are responding to, we see other agencies, but Salvation Army is sort of behind the scenes. Why is that?
Sure, that's where our niche is. We're not the first responders. We're there to support the first responders and those affected by the disaster. So we're very focused on providing those resources, that assistance where we're at, and not so much focused, maybe not as much as we should be, about getting our image out there and showing what we do.
You talked a little bit about the canteens as well. So obviously, thankfully, there are not fires and disasters every single day. So how do you use those canteens when you're not responding to a disaster?
Sure. So every week we do a homeless outreach program. That's kind of our way of trying to support that community. That's a community that's very food insecure. So we try to do our part in providing any type of support that we can.
And is that in just Allegheny County and the Pittsburgh area, or do you do that throughout those counties that you support?
So the Salvation Army supports the homeless populations throughout our 28 counties in our division. But for our EDS department, we specifically are tasked with Allegheny County.
One of the things that the division commander talked about was not just that you're responding to and you're present when there is an incident, like a fire or other emergency, but also that Salvation Army supports and assists help go beyond that. Can you talk a little bit about that process?
100%. So we are in every community. We are in every zip code. So we're there before, during, and after an incident. So during an incident, we're there with our canteens providing that initial support, but afterwards, it goes into our social services programs so that we can further help those people in their recovery process.
I think that there have been a couple of large-scale examples of where people have responded and received support from the Salvation Army. Tree of Life comes to mind as one of those. I believe that you guys have a relationship with Flight 93 Memorial too. Could you talk a little bit about what the experiences might have been there, or where Salvation Army came to play for those pieces?
Absolutely. So with the Tree of Life Synagogue, we were immediately requested to be on scene to provide food, hydration, and emotional and spiritual care support to the first responders, victims, families of the victims, caregivers. Not only were we there for that initial incident, we were there for 10 days after that event to provide the same type of support to everybody involved. Our relationship with Flight 93 and the Friends of Flight 93 has been absolutely tremendous. The Salvation Army was one of the original responding agencies on 9/11, both at Flight 93 and at Ground Zero, and we have continued those partnerships throughout the years. Every year, our Emergency Disaster Services Department supports the memorial event at Flight 93 on 9/11, and we provide hydration, cooling or warming centers, depending on the weather, and snacks to the general public. And we also like to provide meal and support to all of the staff, law enforcement, volunteers working the event, and the friends and family of those who lost their lives on Flight 93.
The podcast that we're taping right now, even though it is before that date, is actually going to air on the 9th. Though, just a couple days before you guys will once again be supporting that memorial service and Day of Remembrance. And so I would encourage anybody who's listening to stop by, say hello, introduce themselves, and learn a little bit more about the Salvation Army. Which leads me to my next question. How can people learn more? How can they get involved? Are you looking for more volunteers? What does that look like? How can people find out more and really get engaged?
So we are always looking for help, always looking for folks to get engaged. Anybody can go to salvationarmywpa.org and visit our website to see all of the programs that we provide, all of the assistance that we offer, and see what we really do in the communities. There's also a link on there so people can sign up and start the volunteer process so that we can onboard them, get them trained, and then they can get involved in emergency disaster services.
What does it take to be a volunteer? Do I need to have special skills or talents or bringing something to bear for volunteerism?
A positive attitude. That's what we're looking for. We have so many different programs that we provide. In emergency disaster services, we can find something for so many different types of skill sets. We are very easy to work with. We will provide any types of training that are needed. We just want somebody who wants to get involved.
And what about funding? Sometimes people just don't have the hours right now to be able to volunteer, particularly I would say EDS is probably a 24/7, 365 responsibility sometimes. So how can people donate or assist the work that you're doing?
Yeah, again, folks can go to salvationarmywpa.org/shield or text SHIELD to 31333, and they can donate any amount that they're interested in. All that money goes to supporting all of our programs that revolve around disaster response and recovery, such as our disaster response equipment, flood cleanout kits, food boxes, all different things that we use to assist people who are recovering or experiencing a disaster.
You talked about the flood kits and some other things, which leads me to another question. If there are organizations or entities out there that are interested in sort of putting those things together, making donations of those kits, or in somehow engaging in that way, is there an ability to do that too?
100%. We love to get involved with so many different groups that want to come and volunteer or donate and help our mission in any way, shape, or form. So they can reach out to us again through that website, or they can contact myself, the acting director for emergency disaster services, and I can provide my email for the notes of the show or anything like that.
I appreciate that. So because we've talked about it so many times, how about hit me with the website again?
Yep, it's salvationarmywpa.org/shield.
And to donate via text?
Yep, you'll text SHIELD to 31333.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share about EDS or what the Salvation Army does before we close?
Sure, just that our mission is so very vital to the recovery process of our community. We are involved, like I mentioned, before, during, and after an incident, whether it's small scale or large scale. And what we're doing is just trying to provide that support to help folks along in their recovery process.
Thank you so very much. I think it's a particularly vital message for National Emergency Preparedness Month as well as Hunger Action Month. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you for, I want to thank the division commander as well for joining us earlier. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Insight and Influence. To learn more about C&G strategies and to access previous editions, visit our website at cgstrategiespa.com.